If you're interested in glowing up, then I'm Celeste Louw, and this is Brave Enough. Healing isn't what you think it is, because we've been sold this idea around healing that it's soft and gentle, that you can journal by candlelight and you'll be okay. You'll grow. You'll go and see someone once a month for an hour and talk about your problems and you'll be fine. That's not healing. Healing isn't peaceful. It isn't something that you ease into. Healing will ask you to look at yourself in ways you've been avoiding. Not the version of yourself that you show other people, not all your masks. Not the version of yourself you've convinced yourself is fine. The real you. The you that's battling to sleep at night. The you that goes into the bathroom because you're having an anxiety attack. That you. That's the you that's going to look at. And most people don't want that. You know what they want? They want relief. They want the pain to stop and they want things to feel easier, but they want it easily, quickly, with a pill maybe. And they don't want to have to change what they're doing. And they don't want to have to work in it. Because that's the part no one talks about. Healing isn't about that. Healing isn't also about becoming someone magically new, changing completely who you are. Healing is about discovering who you really are underneath all those masks, underneath your survival instinct, underneath all your coping mechanisms, underneath the patterns that you've built in order to survive, underneath the protection you've put around yourself. Because a lot of what you think of as personality, let's give, for example, I'm introverted. I don't like going out. I'm socially anxious. I don't like people. All of those things are protection. The way you react, how you shut down or how you overgive or you pull away, you can't take confrontation. The way you give up your control, you give away your power so that you don't have to move out of this uncomfortable space. All of those things didn't come from nowhere. They came from somewhere. And healing means that you're going to be brave enough to ask yourself questions. So before you can ask yourself any questions, you have to be able to be mindful. And what does mindfulness mean? It means that you're in the present, that you're paying attention to what's going on inside of you and what's going on around you. And if you do stop and you think, you'll go, well, every time I close my eyes, all I see is the horrible things. Well, you have to walk through the horrible things before you get to the good things. So healing starts with you asking, where does this come from? Why am I behaving the way that I'm behaving? Where is it coming from? Why do I feel the way I feel? Where is that coming from? And the way that I'm reacting to that, is it serving me? Because at some point, what you use to protect yourself will hold you back and you will feel it because your life will feel uncomfortable and you'll feel like you're being triggered all the time. Maybe you're tired. You're going to feel stuck and you're going to think there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Those are all signs that you're ready to heal. You're being pushed by yourself to change. The discomfort you're feeling, the frustration and restlessness, that's not failure. That's you telling yourself, I'm not okay and I need to heal. And that's the beginning. Because healing is not what people see. It's not on the outside of you. And you're not going to find it in posts and books and, I don't know, sitting and listening to a lecture for 5 minutes. Even this won't help you if you're not actually going to do the work. Because if you're not willing to admit to yourself that you're not okay and the things that are wrong with you when no one else is around, how are you ever going to face those things? So let me ask you a few questions. Who are you without your roles? Maybe you're a mother, maybe you're a business person, maybe you're a dad, maybe you have responsibility towards family, to having a high-powered job. Maybe you're a workaholic, but who are you without all of those things? Not the strong you, not the fixer, not the people pleaser, not the one everyone leans on. Who are you when you are not performing for the world? Who are you without your story? Not what happened to you, but who are you without carrying what happened to you into every moment of every day? And who are you without your defenses? Without the shutting down, without the reacting, without the avoidance, without the expectancy that everything is going to go wrong, without the hiding and the paranoia. Most people don't know how to answer that because they've never sat long enough to find out. And when you do sit and when you do start looking at yourself, you'll realize that you have more than one part to yourself. You have a part that protects you. And the problem is, if that part is playing too big a role, what's going to happen is you're going to isolate. And we are not meant to live in isolation. We are meant to live in connection. The part of you that protects you is the part of you that steps in quickly, that keeps you safe, that pushes people away. You have to have balance with all these parts of yourself. Then there's the part of you that's still hurting, the one that's stuck in the pain, the one that carries all the things you never dealt with, the one that talks to you in your head, telling you that you're not worthy enough, that you're only deserving of pain. The stuck parts of you. There's the part of you that learned how to survive, that figured it out, that got you through, that gave you the survival instincts that you have that might not always be so good anymore. And then underneath all of that, there's the real you. The you that isn't driven by fear, that doesn't react from pain. The real you that isn't stuck in old patterns, that hasn't been brainwashed into believing things about the world and themselves that isn't true. The real you, the unique you. But you can't get to the real you, the unique you, by pretending that the others don't exist. And healing is not getting rid of those parts of yourself. You need them for survival. It's understanding them. And it's understanding when they show up and why. It's asking, why are you trying to protect me? And what are you trying to protect me from? And then choosing, do I still need to be protected in this moment? Am I still in the same place that I was in? Because if you don't start choosing how you respond to your triggers, if you just carry on reacting to them, the patterns that you're choosing now that have brought you to a podcast like mine are going to stay there. If you don't do the hard work, if you don't do introspection, if you don't start to understand yourself, if you are not looking for solutions, you are going to stay just where you are, because nothing changes if we don't change what we're doing. And when you carry on making the same choices, following the same patterns, you will keep having the same outcomes. And so it's uncomfortable because you don't find peace by avoiding pain. You don't grow in happy, peaceful times. You can't find your way to the other side without going through it. The anger that you're holding on will not go away if you don't understand it, see where it's coming from, tell it to take a hike and sort out the actual problem. The grief that you never processed is never going to be resolved if you don't allow yourself to grieve your losses and the shame that you've buried, even though you probably don't even have any shame to bear. That's going to stay with you until you face it and understand it and integrate these things into who you are. The things that you've told yourself that didn't matter, that did. You need to address them. That's where the work is. Not in the easy parts, in the real ones. Healing looks like sitting with your feelings without running away from them. It looks at investigating them, talking to people that you can trust so that you can figure out new ways of seeing the world, of perceiving what's going on with you. Because we cannot heal in isolation. Healing looks like catching yourself in a reaction and asking, why did I do that? It looks like saying, that hurt me. It looks like understanding I need to change what I'm doing because it's a survival response. It's a trauma response and I don't need it anymore. And I'm isolating myself with it. It looks like saying, I've got a part in this today. I maybe didn't have a part in it when it started, but I've got a part in it today. And saying, when it's not yours to carry, saying, this is not mine to carry, and I can put it down. Because healing is about putting things down. Carrying everything forever will completely break you. If you have a blame that was never yours, you need to put it down. If you had guilt for doing what you needed to do to survive, you need to work through that. Maybe you took on responsibilities when you were too young to carry them. You need to put it down. You don't get peace by carrying everything forever. You get there by learning what is yours and what is not. And while you're doing that, you'll start to see yourself differently. Truth is, you might not like everything you see, because often when we're in abusive situations, we develop coping strategies that are not good for living outside of abuse. Maybe you learned how to lie or to play with the truth to cover up something. Maybe you learned how to be quiet when actually you have a right to say how you're treating me isn't okay. Maybe you are doing things that you're ashamed of just so that you can survive. And those things, you need to put them down. Not only do you need to put them down because of the shame and the guilt that they can continue to make you feel, but you need to put them down because what you need to live successfully is not what you learned in coping mechanisms. So you may see patterns in yourself, and you might see where you've been reacting instead of responding or choosing. Good. If you're picking up on the things that I've said now, and if they're irritating you, and if you're going, I don't want to talk about that, that's exactly it. That's a good thing. That's awareness. And awareness gives you power because now you have a choice. You can keep doing whatever you've always done, or you can do something different. And that's where things start to change. But let's talk about the cost of healing. Because walking a healing journey and living a healing lifestyle will cost you. It'll cost you the old version of yourself. It'll cost you habits and patterns. It'll cost you people, because not everybody is going to grow with you, and not everything is meant to come with you. And then when you hit that part, no one prepares you for the in-between part, the part where you are changing and you don't fit in anywhere anymore. You don't fit in your past self or your past life, and you don't fit in the life you are trying to create because you're in between, you're in that uncomfortable stage, and you just don't feel like you fit anywhere, and you feel like going back because you don't feel settled. You feel messy and quiet and lonely. And this is the place where most people lose the healing journey, because it's so much simpler. It is so much easier to go back to the comfortable, uncomfortable, to go back to the familiar and the known, even if it's not good for you. Don't do that. Stay in your healing journey, because that is where you build something real, and the world has too much plastic in it. We need to be real, and dropping the masks and being real in the world that we live in is really hard. Don't let anyone con you. It's really hard, because when you stop reacting and you start thinking, that's when you start noticing, pausing, choosing. And that's where you reclaim your power and stop looking like a Swiss cheese. because you don't need to be a Swiss cheese, you need to be a whole cheese. Okay. Because healing is not about controlling everything around you. You cannot control the world. You can only control yourself and how you respond to the world. So you need to learn how to respond differently. And that changes everything. When you start responding differently, building different habits, choosing what you want to do and how you want to do it, choosing who you are becoming. Because people think that peace is about a perfect life. No problems, no stress, no pain. But you know what that is? That's unreal. It's just not true. There's no truth in it. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be pain or stress. They're all going to be there. Peace is something that happens inside of you. It's an understanding that you can confront and you can manage, integrate, process anything that comes your way. It's about knowing who you are. It's about knowing what you feel. It's about knowing what is acceptable to you and what isn't, what you will and won't do. And it's about being strong enough in yourself and comfortable enough in your own skin to not be thrown off every time something doesn't go your way, because you're anchored in yourself. And being anchored in yourself is different to being selfish. Please understand. You need to question your moral compass, not have one. No one is better than another person. We are all equal. No one should have power and control over another person's personal choices and decisions. No one should. We should treat each other as equal. No one's better, further, faster, quicker than us. We just have our own ways of walking through life, and that's okay. But when you're anchored in yourself, you start finding that it becomes easier to do the work, because you start having clarity and you start to see the world from more than one perspective. You start to balance heart and mind so that you're not just making decisions out of emotion. And through understanding, you can put boundaries around yourself. You can stop overgiving. You can stop explaining yourself to people who don't want to know and don't care. You can stop doubting yourself all the time. And maybe, most importantly, you'll be able to learn how to sit with yourself without needing to escape from yourself, because you cannot run away from yourself, without needing the noise and the distraction. And most people are not comfortable with that. And the reason why they aren't is because they've been avoiding themselves for so long. They spend their whole lives looking for something to distract them because they can't sit alone. And here's the truth. Healing isn't a one-time thing. It is a constant thing. It is a journey. It is a revisiting, going backwards and forwards, balancing the past with the present to build a better future. Integrating. It's not a tick box thing. It's a daily thing. Sometimes it's an hourly or even a minute thing. It's in how you respond. It's in how you think. It's in the choices you make. And some days you're going to get it right. And some days you're just not. Some days you'll just slide into your old habits and you'll have to pick yourself up again. But that doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you're still in it to win it. You don't arrive at healed. You become someone who lives a healing lifestyle. You become someone who is journeying to healing. Healed is a myth. You become someone who's aware, someone who takes accountability and responsibility, someone who chooses better, someone who thinks things through. Well, at least more than before, right? Because none of us are perfect. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You just need to be brave enough. Brave enough to look at yourself, to look at your patterns, to look at where you're at and where you want to be. Brave enough to feel, to allow yourself to feel the emotions and then let them go. Brave enough to be honest with yourself about who you are, where you are, and what's going on with you. And brave enough to take the responsibility and the accountability to do something about it. You need to be brave enough to choose differently, because healing isn't what you think it is. It's harder than that, but it's also where you meet yourself for real, and that's priceless. So the question is, are you brave enough to do that? If this meant anything to you, if it touched you or made you learn and grow, then maybe you want to like, follow, or share it with someone who might need it. I'll see you next week. Be brave enough.